Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 6 of the anime series Kantai Collection, KanColle. And this was definitely an interesting episode. Let me illustrate, kind of, sort of, in a nutshell, how this episode left me by the end. I felt like, they took a little of this, consistency, and effectively tossed it out the window with this particular episode. It was interesting, I gotta say. Very much lighthearted and funny, although you don't necessarily pick up on that from the sort of pre-OP, very dramatic opening, where we're seeing Nagato effectively just almost mourning her duties and responsibilities, and you think, oh my goodness, she's going to be probably sending some young, group in this ship girl fleet off to battle. Lives are going to potentially be lost. I mean, there was some speculation going back to last week's episode with the preview for this one. People were saying Curry Battle or whatever, the title of this episode was, is probably sort of implying that there's going to be this big, bloodthirsty, blood-curdling battle. And boy, were we kind of wrong and misdirected. In fact, we're following around Destroyer Group 6, this group of 4 girls made up of Hibiki, Ikazuchi, Inazuma, and Akatsuki. And I gotta say, Akatsuki just, even down to the purple hair, was almost a spitting image for the character of the very same name from another anime series I, do episodic reviews for, Log Horizon. Slightly different character, kind of character, I should say, but very kawaii, very sort of short in stature and loud of voice in certain scenes, and she's matched in a sense by a contemporary in her group, that being Ikazuchi, who very much reminded me of Minori of Log Horizon. These two characters in that show are kind of in a love triangle, impromptu or otherwise, you might say, unrequited fascination with sort of the, I guess you could say, chief hero of that particular anime series. And it's just, watching this group, I mean, I was really thinking of those two, especially how these two characters are a little bit at odds. They're a little bit playfully adversarial, and in a couple of scenes anyway. Hibiki of the group is probably the one that was the most stand out to me as interesting because of her very monotone sort of stature, and she's, saying Koshiro or whatever it is. I forget exactly how she pronounces it, but she's continually repeating that, and I don't know if that's a name of somebody or if it's like Poi with Udachi, but I wasn't fully invested in these characters. I mean, we've seen some of them in the periphery in, previous episodes to this, and I was just kind of like, wow, they really threw us for a loop. We're not following anybody we've been following, and it was just kind of like, almost like watching the first episode of a completely different show. This felt like a side quest or something like that, where we're definitely completely disregarding the main sort of crux of the narrative of the series, if you can even say the series has one. And the whole thing is a curry contest where they're basically having to make a dish and, compete for who has the best tasting curry. And it's, comedy ensues, but it's kind of tentpole comedy. There were only 2 really fully genuine laugh out loud moments for me in this episode. The rest of it, I just kind of sat with like a smug grin, like, oh, I've seen so much of these kinds of things before. The 2 tentpole moments, though, were when the girls first try to create their curry dish and they realize they're not going to be able to cook it quickly enough. They're going to have to sit for hours and watch this stew and everything like that. And so one of them gets a brilliant idea, and that is to basically go out to the garage and get a flamethrower to nuke this thing into a charcoal briquette, pot and all. That was absolutely hilarious to me. And then the second moment was during the contest itself. You have Kongo and I think Kaga basically making their own, curry, or actually it wasn't Kaga, it was one of the Kongo sisters, though, I think. And it's just sort of a plain broth. And Konga's very happy with this, but her partner essentially pulls out this, they pixelation censored whatever it's supposed to be that she pulls out. I don't know what exactly it was. Maybe it was like a brand of some kind of flavor enhancer or spicy stuff, or another, thing I thought was like, is it narcotics? Is it drugs? Is it like X? Because she pours it in the broth. They both taste it. Their faces then turn multicolored rainbow, like Skittles Fest. And then they both pass out. You have Naka kind of shocked at this, being the MC of the entire affair. And that made me laugh out loud, even though I was kind of WTFing through the whole, bit. What exactly did they just ingest? But, the whole episode very much plays out predictably. I mean, you know how it's going to end, and I don't know if it's going to end up being, I should say, precursor to like these girls are about to go out to battle, and this was like their one fun, time before losing themselves and getting their lives taken from them, or something, or if it was just meant to be sort of a fun side quest, which following on from last week's episode, which was actually genuinely enjoyable to me and fun and lively and all those things that I guess this episode was trying to be. Although it just didn't work on me because I wasn't invested in following this particular set of 4 girls. Throughout the episode, we see all of these other recognizable characters almost relegated to cameos within their own show. And I know there are hundreds or whatever of, characters within the KanColle game. So they're trying to fit as many in as they can shoehorn into the whole unfolding plot. Again, if you can say this show has a plot, overall, that is to say. But I mean, like I say, we saw Congo, Shimikaze was in there. I thought it was actually pretty funny. That was the third laugh of the episode, where she makes sort of pre-made curry because, of course, she's supposed to be the lazy one who doesn't do the work and everything. But it did get a genuine laugh out of me. And then you see her trying to feed, her little partner in crime in sort of a still shot scene, some of the curry and everything like that. But you had Akagi in there, and Kaga, as I say. Nagato was the one overseeing the entire thing, and this was the strangest part, the drama at the opening of the episode, and then to have, Nagato, basically, we find out she's the judge of this contest. I guess she was really mourning the having to taste potentially very spicy stuff. And I'm not, going to spoil for you, if you haven't seen the episode, how it plays out. It's so predictable. It's like almost, condescension, I feel like, describing how this episode plays out, even to people who have seen it, but especially to people who haven't, because it's like almost a non-spoiler. It's that predictable how the events of this episode play out. But you also had Yubari showing up, and I liked, sort of the side flash we had for a couple brief seconds there as, essentially Akagi is in the contest, and we sort of see on the sidelines Yudachi is calling it to Fubuki's attention, and Fubuki's all, oh, I love her, I love her, I love her, she eats so amazingly, I want to feed her, and all the, all of that wonderful stuff and everything. And I don't know really what else to say about this particular episode. It was just kind of baffling to me. As I said, I felt like a whole chunk of this was just thrown out the window, and it wasn't a horrible episode, by any stretch of the imagination. It wasn't as baffling as the episode that came back from the dramatic loss and death of a character to just sort of whimsy and, absurdity, but it wasn't that stark a contrast, but it was still kind of a little bit off-putting. I just sort of felt like I had large chunks of this episode I sort of had to force myself to pay attention to. And that's a shame for this series. It seems like the only consistency so far that this series has is inconsistency. And so I don't know. We'll have to see what happens in the next episode. It sounds like sort of a similar arguments going on with the Kaga character, or maybe a similar character who's like, Fleet Division 1 or whatever, has nothing on me, that kind of thing. Problems between the girls once again, and we'll see how that plays out. We'll see if any battles unfold. If, I forgot to mention in my previous episode discussion video that we did hear from Akagi certain hints and whispers as to potentially trying to uncover the origins, the background of the Abyssals in this series, and I really hope they do start to focus on that, because that would really pique my interest. I'd really love to know more about them. And we didn't even see them at all in this episode. So I don't know if that tells us something or not. But I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 6 of Kantai Collection KanColle. If you're a fan of the game series, are you digging seeing the characters that are being featured in it, whether shoehorned in as cameos or, you know, having a little more screen time than some of the normal characters and everything? Or is it just monotonous for you? You know, hard to follow and that kind of stuff? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, I hope you enjoyed the video and that it finds you well. And I'll catch you all later. Peace.